From dramas to webtoons to novels, explore Korea's story with us. This is Who Reads Story. My name is An Song-jin. I'm a news reporter. And today we have a new guest with us. Ari, please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. Hi, I'm Ari. I'm a model and actor in South Korea right now. I am from India. I guess you all know about India. And nice to meet you all. I'm so excited to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. It's exciting to talk about today's episode, especially with your background being from India.
Yeah.
And the piece that we'll be talking about from today is King of King, which has been ranking a new milestone in Korean animation. Now, to give a brief description or plot of this movie itself, it basically delineates the life of Jesus Christ from birth to resurrection. And it was ironically first released in North America, and it has been hitting the box office, reaching about $60 million of profit, which I feel like is quite a record. And this also shows that Korean animation can be gaining a lot of fame worldwide as well. Now, for you, could you briefly describe what the exact plot is about of the movie?
So this movie is really amazing. I would recommend everyone to just go and kind of see it. The first thing that I want to say, this movie is actually taken from Charles Dickens' short stories. It's called Love of Our Lord. And especially from that, they have taken the whole adaptation into a movie. And this story is about life of Jesus Christ and everybody who believes and what is the faith, how about forgiveness and how we should always believe the Lord. It's a beautiful movie, and especially Charles Dickens is talking with his son Walter about how the historic events in the life of Jesus Christ unfolds. It's amazing to watch it. You should definitely watch it.
Right, so you just basically gave an in-depth description to our viewers who may have not known about the story itself. You mentioned that it's based on the novel from Charles Dickens, and it kind of unfolds the life of Jesus Christ. Now, it's interesting to see that it was first released in the US first. I think I read it in one of the reviews that it talks about how the US is more inclined to accept more of these religious movies, which is why it may have opened first in the US internationally, and then it has domestically been released in Korea July 16th, so about a month ago, and within the viewers, it has been gaining definitely a lot of popularity. It has reached more than 1 million viewers within Korea.
Wow.
And I guess, regardless of whether you have religion or not, it is still worth watching. And I'm assuming since you know the plot so well, you must have watched it yourself, right?
Totally. I went to the theaters to watch it, and it was so amazing because you should not watch it at home. You should go to the theaters and literally watch it because you have this emotion ups and downs with the movie, with the theaters.
With the sound effect too.
You're crying, you're laughing, and it's just like a whole vibe in there. So you should definitely go in there. Other thing that I wanted to say is when I went to the theaters, and I was not expecting, there was a very different kind of plot, and I thought it's going to be a very religious kind of a movie,
as the title says.
It was a very storytelling kind of a movie, and that kind of very fascinated me, and I was so happy to go and watch it in the theaters. Definitely recommending everybody just go and watch this movie in the theaters. Amazing.
Right, so Ari is highly recommending that our viewers who haven't watched it should definitely go to the movie theaters and watch it. And I feel like you unfold a couple of points that we will be talking about later. And again, I'm interested in hearing your perspective because,
I'm so excited
in India,
you
have Hinduism, which is, I guess, a lot more predominant than Christian. Now, to briefly go into the story as we talk with Ari, there basically is no spoiler within this movie because you have the life of Jesus Christ.
We know it.
We know what it is, right? So it is based on the New Testament that a lot of people are already familiar of. And as you talk about, it is based on the narrative structure of Charles Dickens' family, which I feel like is interesting because, as you mentioned, he brings up his own son, Walter, and he kind of weaves that into the plot of the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, he also brings in this theme of narrative construction of how you just mentioned. What do you think about that bit, and why do you think the director tried to bring this in?
I'm being honest, that was the best move that the director did, because initially when we started, I was thinking before going to the movies, it's going to be it starts with the Jesus Christ birth and then goes to the resurrection part, and that's something that the Bible
also says. Historical
timeline. It was it's going to be the same repetitive, but it was a very different narrative that started it because it started with the storytelling. And honestly, I lost my father a couple of years ago, and that same thing when he used to tell me stories and I would just indulge myself into it, that same heartwarming feeling came to me with the father and the son starting and carrying the whole story, and that kind of also made me understand not from a specific religious purpose, but from like a different perspective. Universal love is everywhere in every religion. And it did not meant to me like I was talking just about Christianity or just about Jesus. It just meant to me like I was seeing a story that spoke to me about love, about faith, and about forgiveness, and about so much more than just a one specific religion. So it was amazing to watch that, especially seeing how Father tells it a story. And especially if you've seen the movie, I think it's so beautiful that a whole family is involved. And that also makes me feel like there's a very different perspective that's going on. So I love the movie. That's how it should be made.
Right.
That's how, yeah.
Right. And I guess you do bring up all these themes, whether it be universal love, forgiveness. And I guess, as you mentioned, it's not bind to one religion specifically. It does kind of encompass the realm of universal human values, which is why I guess this piece itself has been gaining a lot of fame. And you do mention that this kind of unfolds the story of Charles Dickens himself as well, because as we talked about, the name Walter itself comes from his fourth son. And I guess that's why, you know, for people like you, when you talked about your anecdote, your own story, there are these people who found it more touching, you know, more personal. It's not just a story about how Jesus Christ has, you know, from his birth to resurrection. It does still add in that human value as well. Was there a specific scene or a specific sector from the interaction that Walter has within the movie?
Well, to be honest, like Walter's, every scene was so emotional.
Very emotional.
And he was always so excited when Jesus was about to do something, and really sad whenever Jesus was like suffering. So that was also a very different kind of emotions with him that you can attach. The cat part, the cat was also very annoying during the storytelling. It was very cute how Charles Dickens dealt with the cat. So all over, I just felt all the scenes of the Walter were very well made. There was nothing that went up too high or too low. It was perfect up and done.
Right.
Yeah. And I could relate as a child, you know, even if you're grown up, it doesn't matter. You relate to them as a child. Like, oh, I'm feeling the emotions with him. Like, he's like sounding, why is Jesus not doing that? And I'm like, I'm having the same question. So it was just very similar altogether. So I just felt Walter's scenes were very perfectly fit in the movie to make the audience feel the emotions of what it feels like, what questions comes to our mind, and what exactly happens. So I love that part of Walter.
Right. I think you mentioned an important part, like how you said that, you know, even if I was a kid, even if I was a child, I would have no problem watching the movie and perceiving the emotions, whichever scene Walter was in. And I guess at the end, what we're left with after watching the movie is that it's not violence or necessarily sword, as the title suggests, that conquers the world. It's actually, you know, love, forgiveness, and all those universal human values that we end up seeing ruling the world. So that universal messages pertain to not just Christianity, not just the movie, but it really goes through all of the other religions, other universal values within the world as well, which is why I guess, you know, this piece is just applicable for anyone, regardless of adult, kid, you know, age doesn't matter.
Yeah,
religion
I
doesn't
agree
matter.
totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why now I want to delve in a bit more into the narrative structure, the narrative frame that the movie actually tries to bring through the entire summary. Now, again, as we kept on been talking about, it, you know, delves the timeline of Jesus' birth to the resurrection. And I'm sure this historical timeline itself is already quite familiar to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have heard about Bible before, obviously, and my mom has read the whole Bible.
Wow.
So she keeps talking about it.
So you've already had secondhand experience.
Yeah. But still, there were a couple of elements that were new to me. Like, for example, my mom said me that there was someone who betrayed Jesus just before he was like going for a resurrection and stuff. But I didn't know it was Judas who betrayed. So it was a new element for me. I was like, why would he betray? So it was a very new thing. Other than that, small elements, you know, that people don't usually talk about, those were shown in the movie, and I just felt it was very detailed about each historical context. It did not just like end it super fast,
right?
But it just felt like every part of it, I just know it by heart. You know, especially, and for me, since I'm an actor, for me, visuals are way more important. So now once I watch this movie, I don't have to go and read the book again because I know what's going to happen and what is going to unfold later. So it just kind of created a timeline, a context for me visually. So that was very intriguing to me. So I've heard about it. I also have Christian friends. I've went to church before. So it's like kind of very familiar vibe to me, the story about it. But yeah, details were very new to me as well.
Right. I guess it's notable how the movie itself is not just like an historical timeline movie that explores the life of Jesus, but it does really do this in a storytelling aspect. so people can really feel touched with it, even if they're in a different religion. I'm just going to go through the comments to see if anyone has, left anything notable. Let's see. Yeah, I guess it's, as people point out, it has been number 2 at the box office in North America, which I feel like is something that is noteworthy. And again, the director is Chang Song-ho, as someone pointed out, and he does do a good job directing it, which is why I guess we can really feel the storytelling, the narrative structure, and all that as a viewer ourselves. And now for you, as someone that's non-Christian, how did this movie come to you? What were some thoughts that you had as someone that has a different religion? As we talked about, it is the human universal values that are still encompassed. But could you explain to us in detail?
Totally. Like, I come from a Hindu religion, and I was just talking about it with my mom as well. Like, I felt the movie did not have a personal specific agenda about particular religion. It just felt like whatever the message was applies to every single human across the world, whether or not they had their religion. Or for me, in Hinduism too, we have a lot of similar things that Jesus and he went to. But for us, we felt that the universal message was same: love, forgiveness, peace, and taking care, being kind before anybody else. So all those things, I went home and I called my mom and I was like, Mom, the message is same. Why are we talking about religion here then? It's the same message. It doesn't matter whether you're Hindu, whether you're Christian, or whether you're Muslim, or whether you're any other religion. Every religion just teaches the same thing, that you should put humanity, you should love each other, and you should be kind to each other every time. And when I saw the movie, there was so many things that we are also taught in our religion, and it was the same thing that was being spoken. So I never felt like I was watching a religion specific movie. I just felt like I was watching a warm movie about love and about how we should be more compassionate towards each other. So it doesn't matter whether you're which religion, or whether even if you don't follow a religion, it just speaks to you as a human how you should be. So I felt very amazing watching the movie, even though I was a non-Christian, and everybody in the room was almost Christian watching the movie. And I just felt so happy while watching, and I was like, I believe in this totally. So it kind of made me more compassionate towards other people now.
Right, and I think the movie does a good job approaching the viewers who are potentially not open to Christianity, because it comes with all these universal human values, whether it be, as you mentioned, humanity, forgiveness, love.
And like I said, before going into the movie, I was like, oh, it's gonna be the same Jesus Christ movie. I know it. Why am I gonna watch it? And then I took the ticket and I was like, just let's see it. And then when I saw it, and I was like, I love this movie. It's so good because it teaches similar things. It's not like forcing you to believe in one thing. It's just forcing you to believe in everything that's beautiful, whether it's love or whether it's forgiveness. It just teaches you how to be a warm and compassionate human being.
Right,
so that's the major message I got from the movie. And never doubt. That was my favorite part of the movie.
Right. And I guess the movie itself really shows how Jesus Christ himself kind of puts others first.
Totally.
He puts himself forward, and it's all about understanding someone else, respecting the others. And I guess that universal message really does come through for all of our viewers. And that's why, even the story itself is back from 1,000 years ago. Still, for modern day people, we can feel it. We could still feel the compassion, the emotions, and all those universal human values.
Totally.
And why do you think that these messages are more pertinent to nowadays? Why do you think that these pieces or these entertainment movies still have a role in the modern days for us?
Well, I'm being honest, nowadays the world has changed a lot and everybody's more selfish than ever. Everybody's thinking about its own values. But to me, after watching this movie, what I felt was life is always ups and downs. And no matter what, even if you are at the low moment of your life, down moment of your life, never stop being kind to other people. Because that's something that you should always have in yourself, that I am a kind person. And that will come back to you in some ways, always karma. So I just felt like after watching this movie that I'm not going to stop being kind ever, and I'm going to be compassionate towards other people. And I think that's why I'm recommending this movie to every person, that they should go and watch in the theaters, because it really speaks to you as a human. No matter how much hardships you face, never stop being kind and never stop loving other people. It just feels very, very beautiful to see how Jesus has done that. And I became a huge fan of Jesus. I told Mom, oh, I love Jesus. Okay, I want to read Bible myself as well. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting how you mentioned all these facts that I feel like, people nowadays in the modern days definitely live in a more harsh stressed out environment,
very
more
pressurizing,
stiff, more pressurized, exactly. And movies like these or pieces like these give people an air, like a breath to kind of, you know, indulge all the problems that they're going through, maybe have some compassion for other people, understand other people's values as well, instead of putting your own self first, whether it be, you know, being selfish or, you know, prioritizing your own self. And I guess that's why this movie has been valued or gaining a lot of popularity.
As it should.
As it should, right? Because it has all these universal values as a humanity. And within Hinduism itself, you've mentioned already a lot of the commonalities, you know, it's all these universal humanity values, forgiveness, love. But what other similarities can we see based on this movie and in Hinduism?
Well, the biggest thing that you would see is sacrifice.
Right.
There is a lot of sacrifice in our Hindu gods, and I was while coming here, I was even talking to my mom, why do we need to sacrifice? Why they're gods? Why do they need to do that? And my mom was explaining to me, and I was like, okay, I get it now. So sacrifice, love, forgiving each other, you know, like not holding grudges for longer. Those all things together were very similar to the movie that I saw, and never doubting. Always having those faith itself is something that our Hinduism also teaches. So I don't think that it's very different, but I think it's very, very similar to what they teach. And we have epic tales, Hindu tales, like we have Ramayana, we have Mahabharata, where if you read them, you'll see how much the god has sacrificed itself, even though like in our Ramayana, we have the god who was the king, and he had to go and live in 14 years in just forest alone, like with nobody, and it was so hard for him to do that. Also in Buddhism, we talk about that. So in Buddhism, the Lord Buddha had to like go and live in nirvana. It was very different. So I think in every religion, there has been a lot of sacrifices. But still, I could see that among these hardships, these people like literally made everything so positive and came out victorious, and that just kind of makes me very inspired by them. Every god, every religion, that I should not give up and like literally work harder and get out of this victorious. So hardships are not the problem, but giving up is not the solution. Always work harder, positive, love, affirmation. Those things really like I was able to relate. Like when he was being crucified, it was so hard for me to watch that, and I was like, don't do it. And then I remember our Lords also had so much hardships, and I was like, they came out victorious. So always, even though there's hardships, there should be love, there should be faith. You will get out of it.
Right. I guess as Adi mentioned, what's interesting about all these religions is that, you know, regardless of whether it's Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, we all see these universal core values that kind of descend among all of these religions. And I guess because this piece itself holds and beholds a lot of these values and messages, I guess that's what makes this movie kind of special. I'm just going to go through the comments once more to see, you know, what the viewers, for those who have watched it, have maybe left as a review. Let's see. Yes, I mean, people have been saying that they would recommend it for a lot of those that haven't watched it.
Totally, yeah.
And since it is about Christ, it is quite a sacred movie itself,
very
obviously.
Sacred, yeah.
And it is interesting to see how, you know, it's not just about the 1,000 years of history that Jesus Christ has gone through.
I just feel this movie increases your faith more, way more than you have ever, like you're like neutral, and then you see the movie and then you feel like, what have I been doing?
Maybe I should become Christian. And I guess it's also just these universal human values or these messages that pertain to a lot of people modern days as well, you know. Regardless of, you know, believing in the religion itself, it's all these humanitarian values that people can kind of look back at it. And I guess why this piece itself is more popular, at least another reason why we do want to talk about it, is because that this production has been from a Korean company. I mean, we've already seen it through the comments, but the director himself is Korean, named Jang Song-ho. First, are you familiar with Korean animations apart from this one?
Can I be honest?
Yes.
I did not even know this was a Korean movie.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, this is new to me right now. And I was like, wait, what? It's a Korean animation?
It is a Korean animation.
So good.
It is a Korean, and I think that's a lot more fascinating to see that, you know, it's a Korean production, Korean director that has looked over this entire piece.
Wow.
But it has been released in the US first, and now it's making a comeback to Korea.
That's amazing.
And I guess that's why it's interesting to point it out. And director Kang Sung-ho is already quite famous in Korea because he has been the VFX director he's kind of the first generation expert in this field, which is kind of the CG field. And some of the movies that he has covered include Myeongnyang or Haeundae, which are quite already renowned movies in Korea. And the fact that this animation, The King of Kings, have been wearing these motion capture suits, is what they call them, to bring out as much as reality possible, even though it is an animation movie.
When I was watching the movie and I was like, they're so realistic.
They're realistic, right?
Even everything, the natural landscapes to the emotions, the expressions of the people were so real. And I was like, I'm sure the animation people would have worked so hard on them because, like, especially I'm talking about Walter, his emotions were too heightened up. So you could like very much see what happened. So he's crying and I'm crying, he's laughing and I'm laughing. So you can kind of relate and it's beautifully done. And I was like, wow. I was literally thinking about it in the movie. Like, how have they done it so perfectly?
With the help of all these high-tech,
and even
VR
the voice
systems.
Was beautiful.
There we go. The voice actors have definitely played a big role. I mean, I'm assuming that you've watched it in English.
I did in English, Right.
So it is interesting to see how within Korea, the Korean version has been dubbed by a famous actor named Lee Byung-hun. I don't know if you know him, but he's been playing a role in the Squid Game as well.
Now, wait, I know him.
Yep.
Oh my god.
So he has also been playing within the movie itself. Now we're just going to take a big break for technical difficulties, and we're just going to try to, get that set together, and then we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now we're going to continue. As we say, for you, what was the English voice actor dubbing like?
Well, honestly, Kenneth Branagh did the Charles Dickens, and as well as Oscar Isaac did the Jesus voice. But to me, Kenneth's voice was amazing. I'm just not being like judgmental, but Kenneth's voice was so mesmerizing to me, and I was just like thinking, who did the Charles Dickens voice? Because he has a very deep voice, and I'm like, okay, perfect father voice, and it's done beautifully. And Oscar did an amazing job as well. Like Jesus, he has a perfect calmness in his voice, and you just feel like, I'm so proud of the voice actors because they've done tremendous job in doing this work.
Right. I mean, even for the Korean actor that I talked about, he has a very low, subtle voice.
I am looking forward to see the movie in Korean now.
You should watch the Korean version. Now that you speak the language as well, you maybe can,
understand,
compare it and see how the emotions come out or how the line is played.
I think Korean is going to be much more beautiful emotions because, oh my god, I can't wait to see it.
Perhaps a bit more subtle too. Now, it's interesting to see how this K-animation movie that has been made by a production team within Korea has been gaining a lot of buzz with its high quality and also Hollywood stars, voice actors. It's basically been so high quality and well made. I guess that's why it's been gaining a lot of fame inside and outside of Korea. And it is looking to expand its viewing to more than 90 countries from 50 countries. We have a guest. We talked about the cat today.
I got surprised.
Now we have more guests to talk about. And I guess
the king.
The king of the kings.
Yeah, hi.
And I guess it kind of talks about how, Korean animation can build up a strong foundation. Even if it's not talking about,
scared.
Korean movies. We have a guest. I should have mentioned it. Now we have a guest alongside Ari, who's going to be listening to us, talk about King of Kings. So today we've talked about King of Kings and its universal messages, regardless of the religion, whether it be Christianity, Hinduism, where Ari has a background in Buddhism, all sorts of language, all sorts of religions. And it's more so about the universal humanity values. Now for you, you've already talked a lot about it, but why would you recommend this piece?
Well, to be honest, if I have to tell people, see, there has been so much rush in life nowadays, and we just need to get away to understand what exactly are we doing and what values do we need to pursue as a human being. And when we see this movie, and there are so many people who in this world have different religion practices, and not everybody has like same religion practices, but the value, the motives or the message, it's same across every religion. So when we see this movie, especially as a Hindu, when I saw this movie, it just spoke to me so many ways that I have forgotten. And it just reminded me of how much faith I should have, how much forgiveness I should give other people, and how much love I should spread. So overall, I would recommend this movie because it just doesn't feel like an animation. It just feels like a real Hollywood movie. So you just go there, you spend your beautiful 2.5 hours, and to see this beautiful movie where it speaks to you about how love, language, and forgiveness and happiness and positive affirmations, everything with sacrifices and everything. It just feels like you're watching something that gives you a very different perspective and a very beautiful universal message about love. So I would recommend everybody to go and watch it in theaters. I'm still saying it, don't watch it at home, go and watch it in theaters. You feel the emotions and you also feel like how the father is talking to his son. So you just feel familiar vibe, you feel religious vibe, and you feel universal love. So I mean, who doesn't want to feel that, right? This era is so stressing. So instead of just sitting on your couch for 2 hours and scrolling, go and watch this movie. It's definitely worth watching. It's going to be so amazing. Trust me on that.
Right. So on today's episode with our guest Adi, we talked about King of Kings, which is a movie talking about not just the historical timeline, but basically a framed narrative of the story starting from Jesus Christ's birth to the resurrection. Now, this movie itself, as you know, Adi and I have been going back and forth the entire time throughout this episode, it's not just about values of religion. It more so covers the values of humanity, whether it be forgiveness, love, understanding of others, compassion, which is why I guess Adi has all these recommendations.
Yeah.
Now, that's all we have for our episode today. For our viewers who haven't watched it, obviously have a look.
The only problem I had with the movie was it was too short. I wanted to watch it for too long. It was just ended. I'm like, no.
Right.
It was so good.
It shows how much you like the movie.
Not 1 second you'll feel like, why is this showing? It just feels like, okay, keep going. Okay, it's very good to listen and hear this. And I also wanted to tell you guys about my favorite part of the movie. There's a part where there are a lot of waves in the ocean and like everybody's like in a boat and Jesus says like, just go, I'll come, I'll pray. And everybody's like, why is he praying alone? And I was also like confused, like, why is he praying alone? And the waves are so high that everybody's almost gonna like, it just feels like they're gonna throw him off the ship or boat. And then there's Jesus just standing there randomly out of nowhere, and he just asks his followers to come to him, and they walk on the water. And randomly there's a lightning strike, and somebody like falls. He picks them up and says, "You doubted me, that's why you fell." And that line literally hit me so hard, and I decided to never doubt my faith and just purely give it in. So I would request everybody to just go and see the movie. You'll feel something very different in your heart.
Right, so we will have our highlight version of this episode up on YouTube. Now listen to Adi's recommendations. If you have anything to share or if you have your own comments, don't forget to leave a comment, a like, and subscribe to our channel where we talk about all these episodes on Korean content. That's all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next week with a new episode for Who Reads Story.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Goodbye.